Hello, my dear crystal lovers. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new around here, my name is AM. I'm a small business owner and I have a company named AVIUVI. At aviuvi.com, you can go and find the most spectacular and amazing and ethically sourced crystals from all over the world, and I will leave you a link in the description below. So this week I'm coming to you with a vlogcast. It's been kind of an odd week because we didn't realize that the preschool was closed this week, so I haven't had time to film, and it's just been nice prioritizing hanging out with Anga all week and cooking and going to cafes and those kinds of things. So it wasn't really a good week to make any videos, but I definitely wanted to make something for you guys, and today it's a vlogcast. And the vlogcast today is about something that's really personal to me. It's something that I've talked about numerous times here on the channel. It's about the ethics of crystals. So I wanted to give you some insights on my thoughts about the crystal industry and what I really mean when I say in the intro that you can find ethically sourced crystals on the web shop. So that's what today's going to be about, and I hope that you enjoy it. So what I mean when I say ethically sourced crystals, I have addressed this topic of ethical and sustainable crystals before, but it is a subject that is and has always been important for me. So today in this vlogcast, I wanted to share a little bit more, especially if you are new to the channel. Crystals are a controversial subject, but it is also a field of work and a lifestyle that has been under a lot of scrutiny. It has rightfully been criticized for spiritual bypassing, morals and ethics for the sake of enlightenment, and there are many cases of that. And as a crystal seller, I definitely feel obligated to share my view with you. As some of you know, my background is in design and fashion. In the fashion world, ethics and sustainability has increasingly become the norm. Every fashion brand has their own take on the matter, but it's normal that a brand has some sort of angle on this. When you buy a piece of clothes, you have a label inside that tells you what materials a garment is made of and where it was made. It's not the full story, of course, but at least you get an idea, and you're able as a consumer to pick and choose between the fibers and the nationality of your item. There are many paradoxes when it comes to fashion. For example, an organic t-shirt is not necessarily more eco-friendly than a synthetic t-shirt. And since we don't have a system that informs us as consumers about the actual environmental footprint of a garment, including use of water, electricity, waste management, transportation, and so on, the only thing we can do is our best and ask questions and do better when we know better. I learned from working in fashion that sustainability is not a black and white matter. It is a sliding scale that is constantly challenged and disrupted and hopefully improved. The food industry has had a similar overhaul. When I grew up, organic food wasn't widely available, but neither was the processed foods. So we're living in a time where more than ever we as consumers have to be really conscious of where we put our money. Maybe you don't want to buy from a certain country because of political reasons or working conditions. Maybe you prefer to buy locally to save on carbon emissions in transportation. Perhaps you know that certain materials are harder on the environment than others. Or you choose to spend your money on things that have a level of quality and longevity. If you've been watching my videos, you know that one thing that is a priority of mine is to buy as much secondhand as possible. But I am not perfect. There are many, many areas of my life where there's space for improvement. When I started AVIUVI, I had no idea how problematic the crystal industry was. But the more I got into it, I knew that if I was going to do this, with a clear conscience, I would have to do it the right way, even if it meant that I would have to start really slow. Healing crystals have gained popularity for a while now, and you probably know that if you're watching this video. Well, all types of healing modalities have really gained popularity. Even before 2020, there was a notable interest in spirituality. And crystals are beautiful and Instagrammable and have been endorsed by celebrities for years now. But the human interest in crystals is nothing new. If you visit a museum of history, it's really clear that mining and collecting stones for their beauty and spiritual properties is a widely spread phenomenon throughout human history and all over the world. There's something about crystals that transcends both the perspective of aesthetics and geology. Since the dawn of humanity, crystals have been considered significant not only for the beauty but also the metaphysical properties. What's new, however, is the availability and the risk of blind overconsumption that we face in most industries right now. But simultaneously, I see a strong tendency towards a more conscious consumption, especially amongst the youth. Crystals are mined, and all mines have an impact on the environment. The big question is to what degree. So some of the main environmental issues is deforestation, loss of biodiversity, water pollution, air pollution, and mining has a history of human rights violations such as slavery and child labor and very unsafe working conditions. It would be easy to blame this consumption of crystals on irrational new age woke hippies and spoiled millennials or spiritual con artists. And it's not to say that all of those doesn't exist, but unfortunately that is not the whole story. It's just not that simple. When you start to explore how big of an impact the mining industry really has on our everyday life, it will completely knock your socks off. So here's a few examples. For us who live in the city, we are surrounded by iron, aluminum, and titanium all the time. We have copper wires to receive electricity in our homes and our workplaces, and that of course is all mined. The electronics we love and value, such as our smartphones, that provide us with the ability to communicate with the people we love, and our computers that enable us to share and find knowledge, they too consist of a lot of different metals and conflict minerals that are all mined. And here in Denmark, we are very proud and pleased by our bicycles and windmills. They came to be through mining too. Then there are the minerals that are used in batteries for electric cars. And I really want to encourage you to look into that on your own, because that is definitely one of the areas where human rights are completely compromised so that privileged citizens of the world can drive around with a green conscience. Eco-bypassing, where you're so busy being an environmentalist that you overlook all other factors, and I'm definitely guilty of that. There are so many wonderful things that we take for granted in our everyday life that exists because of mining, like houses and pots and pans and roads and windows, water pipes, vitamins and life-saving medicine. And that's just to name a few things, because mining is a fundamental part of our everyday lifestyle in our world. If you ever wondered why crystal collectors don't ask questions like where their crystals come from and how they were mined and who mined them and how they were processed and how they were transported, I think it's for the same reason that most people don't ask those questions about the pots and pans in their kitchen. It seems sometimes that there's a higher expectation of morality for those who collect crystals for healing than there is for others. And I absolutely get the hypocrisy. Crystal collectors want to commune with nature while they're simultaneously contributing to its destruction. Many collectors believe in their healing powers and they want to have them around to provide peace and prosperity, but at the same time, they're taking peace and prosperity away from other people. But the issue is much bigger and much deeper than that. And healing crystals are not even the beginning of the problem. So much in our everyday life has a trail of human despair and environmental destruction. And I have to say that I welcome that conversation because it is one that we need to have. And I don't mind that healing crystals are the gateway into that conversation. So, crystals are most often a byproduct of the mining industry and, and only have an indirect impact on the human and environmental issues. And that argument is something that most crystal sellers and collectors seem somewhat satisfied with. So far, it's probably the most justifying answer, but the logic of something kind of bad being okay because it's a byproduct of something much worse is just not good enough for me. When I started collecting and selling crystals, it was initially because I was trying to find eco-friendly supplies for a jewelry line, and I had no previous knowledge about the metaphysical aspect of crystals, but simply fell in love with the natural beauty of the raw crystals. When I decided to buy bigger crystals with home decor in mind, the humanitarian and environmental impact was a big factor in my decision making. I wanted my supplier to provide me with information about the origin, the specific mines, the working conditions, transportation methods, and so on. However, I have to say that it was and it still is a huge challenge. And over the years, I've gathered a small group of suppliers who mine the crystals themselves, but it wasn't easy at all. And there were many times that I could have made easier and more profitable decisions, but that would mean that I had to compromise on the ethics. In the fashion industry, where I've seen an amazing development over the last 10 years, it would be wonderful to see the same change in both the crystal industry, but more broadly in the mining industry, just in general. As a clothing designer, I've had to self-correct numerous times and keep up with new avenues of sourcing and materials and labor, not because there was a demand or a lucrative opportunity in it for me, but because I had the ambition of creating something that was always on the idealistic edge of what was possible at that time. And from a traditional business perspective, that is not a wise decision. But from a personal one, it most definitely is. So that was, and it still is, my ambition for AVIUVI. I don't think it's enough that there is a strong consumer push for any industry to change. I think the entire supply chain has to step it up. And these things take time, and it maybe even take generations. So that was just to tell you my thoughts about this industry and working in this industry, and I'll definitely keep you updated. I have a lot more content about this on the channel. So if you want to buy ethically sourced crystals, definitely go check out the web shop, of course. Another tip is to buy secondhand crystals. And I also have an awesome selection of that in the pre-loved section on the shop. If you're looking for crystal jewelry, you can definitely buy them on auction. You can really get some amazing crystal jewelry secondhand. The good thing about buying on auction is that you have professionals to tell you exactly what crystals they are. And also find out what crystals are native in your area and see if you can go prospecting yourself. And finally, buy the raw crystals that haven't been cut or polished. They are way cooler and a lot more environmentally friendly. So that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you guys so much for listening to this vlogcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me to know what you guys want me to talk about. And it also helps others to find this content if that is what they're looking for. I want to wish you the most amazing day with so much love to you and to yours.